Hey all, welcome to ShareTreck. This is Raj here. Friends, today I'm going to talk about my expectations for CRISPR Therapeutics. Of course, these are all personal opinion, not financial advice, so just please do your own due diligence before you make any move on CRISPR Therapeutics. So that said, let's get started. Welcome back, friends. I am expecting that CRISPR Therapeutics would surpass expectations when it reports the third quarter 2024 results. However, I have seen analysts who have got a different opinion as well. In the last quarter, the company missed earnings by 8.76%. At that time, we were all looking for Casgevy earnings, which did not come, but now I think it might come in. So that is the reason why I think so. And the consensus estimate for sales is pinned at somewhere in the range of 6.3 to 6.5 million. So I would say around 6.4 million, while the earnings is looking at a loss of $1.33 per share. So that's the kind of expectations that the market has got. And CRISPR Therapeutics top line currently includes grants and collaboration revenues from its partnerships with large biotech companies like Vertex. And there are some partnership which got dissolved also. You remember the diabetes therapy that they were working on, CTX 210. So there is a little bit of plus and minus out there, but basically revenue is coming from grants and large pharmaceuticals. And the Casgevy treatment, which was approved for both sickle cell therapy as well as TDT in United States, Europe, and a whole lot of other jurisdictions in early 2024, might likely yield results now. Vertex leads the global development and commercialization of Casgevy under the terms of their agreement with CRISPR Therapeutics, but CRISPR always gets a revenue. So that's where I'm looking at positives for CRISPR Therapeutics in this earnings release. Casgevy is the first marketed product in CRISPR's portfolio through the though the therapy's launch activities are already underway in several countries. The company can be expected to have started Casgevy sales in the third quarter, and given Vertex policy of counting the revenue only after infusion is completed, we have had difficulty estimating when the revenues will arrive on CRISPR Therapeutics balance sheet, that is CRISPR Therapeutics shares. So I think that it's about time that the revenue comes in, and the volume of such revenue estimated by analysts is around $5 million. So that will definitely be a blip on CRISPR Therapeutics chart. So that should be a positive. And I think many investors will be keen to get more updates related to the commercialization of Casgevy at the upcoming earnings. Even I am looking forward to more information that can help us have a much more realistic expectation of Casgevy earnings for the future quarters. That will improve. That will kind of reduce the volatility of CRISPR Therapeutics to a certain extent if volume of income, a portion of that can be consistently predicted. Apart from Casgevy, the company is developing a lot of candidates using CRISPR technology, and they have novel CAR-T cell therapies, which I'm very optimistic about. And the management is currently focused on the development of two next generation CAR-T therapy candidates, which is CTX 112 and CTX 131. The first one targeting CD19 positive B cell malignancies, and the second one targeting relapse and refractory solid tumors. And they are in separate phases, and preliminary data from CTX 131 study is expected by the end of this year, which means anytime now. So a couple of months before the year ends, we are already in October end, as good as being in November. So anytime now we could have that catalyst, or maybe even in this earnings release, there could be some mention about the data, and that can give us a little bit of positive or negative catalyst. I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm expecting it to be positive catalyst because this is the second gen. The first gen already had proved itself. The second gen is an enhancement over the first gen, so I don't expect bad news out here. That's again my personal opinion, not financial advice. So please keep that in mind. And CRISPR Therapeutics is also exploring the potential of these next-gen candidates in other indications like lupus, etc. So in August, the management announced that it has started 2 new clinical studies, one evaluating CTX131 for hematological malignancies, including T-cell lymphomas, and the other evaluating CTX112 in lupus. It's also intending to evaluate CTX112 in other autoimmune conditions. So maybe some announcement about that might come in the earnings this time. Who knows? And apart from immuno-oncology candidates, CRISPR is studying its first 2 in vivo CTX310 and CTX320 in separate phase 1 clinical trials targeting ANGPTL3 gene and lipoprotein A respectively. And activities relating to developing the company's pipeline candidates are likely to have escalated operating expenses in the quarter that they're going to report. So expect that also to have an impact on the EPS. And the shares of CRISPR Therapeutics have lost 24.3% in the year so far, compared to the industry's decline of 3.9%. Now, I also would like to bring your attention back to the diabetes therapy that they are working on, which is in advanced stages of clinical trial in Canada. And it had changed ownerships and all. Now, right now, CRISPR Therapeutics is fully responsible individually for the completion of the therapy. And we haven't heard much detail about it. Maybe in this earnings release, they may talk something about it. Diabetes is a very lucrative area to be in, and maybe a once and done treatment might find favor with a lot of health departments across the world, and that could be a good source of revenue. At the same time, there'll be pricing pressure out there, so margins will come under a little bit of strain, but still, it's a good prospect to have. So I expect to hear at least some sound bites about the diabetes therapy. And if you are like me and love investing in genomic stocks, you're bound to buy some losers. But long-term CRISPR therapy shareholders have a particularly rough ride in the last 3 years. And I personally have also sold my CRISPR holdings, but I always made profits. My CRISPR counter has been profitable. Right now, I don't have any shares. But if you had been holding for around 3 years, you have had a 50% drop in share price. So I applaud you for your confidence and your resilience in holding up with it till now. The falls have also accelerated recently, with the share price down 16% in the last 3 months and consolidating right now. So even though CRISPR Therapeutics isn't currently profitable, most analysts would look to revenue growth to see an idea of how fast the underlying business is growing. Generally speaking, companies without profits are expected to grow revenue every year and at a good clip. That's because fast revenue growth can be easily extrapolated to future profits, often of considerable size. And over the last 3 years, CRISPR Therapeutics revenue has dropped 66% per year. This means its revenue trend is very weak compared to other loss-making companies with no profits and falling revenue. It's no surprise that many investors have lost their nerve and have been dumping the stock, pushing the price down by 15% per year over the last 3-year period of time. And when revenue is dropping and losses are still costing and the share price is sinking fast, it's fair to ask if something is remiss. And after losing money on a declining business with falling stock price, we always consider whether eager bag holders are still offering us a reasonable exit price. So that's the situation in which CRISPR stockholders find themselves. Do we exit or do we stay? Will there be reward? Will we be able to recover all the staggering losses that we have accumulated so far? And I also had that question. So what I did was I took my profits as and when possible, and I've been dipping into CRISPR from time to time. It's not that I don't like CRISPR, but it's just that we can't control the market, and there are lots of different players in the market who may or may not be reasonable. And as a result of their unreasonable expectations, the share becomes very volatile. So I've stayed on the sidelines, but I would definitely enter CRISPR when I feel that the ratio of profitability or risk of failure is less than the possibility of success. So that's where I will try to pull the trigger, and I'll definitely keep you guys informed when I do that. Now let us look at the analyst expectations. So Cantor Fitzgerald has reissued a neutral rating on shares of CRISPR Therapeutics in a recent August 8 report, and Royal Bank of Canada has dropped their target price for CRISPR Therapeutics from 60 to 53, and at the same time they have set a sector perform rating on the stock in a research report that they released on 4th of October. And Stifel Nicolaus decreased their price target on shares of CRISPR Therapeutics from $60 to $59 and set a hold rating for the company in a report on Tuesday, August 6th. Needham and Company LLC dropped their price objective on shares of CRISPR Therapeutics from $88 to $84 and set a buy rating on the stock in a report on Tuesday. And on August 6th, finally, Sheridan Capital reduced their target price on CRISPR Therapeutics from $112 to $94 and set a buy rating for the company in a research note. And there are 3 equity research analysts that have rated the stock with a sell rating, 8 have issued a hold rating, and 9 have assigned a buy rating to the company's stock based on data from marketbeat.com. And the company presently has an average rating of hold and an average target price of 75.19. A number of hedge funds and other institutional investors have recently bought and sold shares of CRISPR Therapeutics. Riggs Asset Management Company Inc. lifted its holdings in CRISPR Therapeutics by around 66.7% during first quarter. Riggs Asset Management now owns 500 shares of the company's stock worth $34,000 after buying an additional 200 shares during the last quarter. SFE Investment Council raised its position in shares of CRISPR Therapeutics by 3.6% during the second quarter, and they now own around 5,846 shares of the company's stock worth around $316,000 after acquiring an additional 203 shares in the last quarter. So there are a few companies which have been acquiring and lifting their stakes, and then we also have some companies which have sold. So overall, it's a mixed bag, and I think at the end of the day, everything boils down to what happens with the cash JV revenue, because that's the big shiny object that everybody's looking at. So if they come around and say that we have had, say, around $5 million worth of revenue from the sales of cash JV this quarter, and if they project the revenue for the next quarter, and also if they give something positive, some positive data about the CTX and the diabetes therapy, then I think we will see a lot of movement in this share. Until then, I think we are going to be in a consolidation pattern with everybody guessing what's going to happen. And friends, let me also highlight once again the frustration that I have with the genomic sector is that information is very difficult to come by. They give the bare minimum information at the last possible movement, and even the last possible movement is not predictable. It could move around, just like take for example this earnings. We think that it's going to happen today. We thought it could be morning. It didn't happen in the morning, so we are thinking it's going to be in the evening. It could happen anytime. Maybe it could happen at the end of next week. So that's the thing that I'm concerned about with genomics, and that's why I'm a little bit observing from the sidelines and with little holdings in genomics. I'd like to hear from you guys what you think is going to happen, and what are your expectations. Please put that in the comment section so that I can also benefit from your wisdom. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.